Okay, in the previous lecture, towards the end, we had discussed the concept of reflection of the voltage waves and the current waves from the load side towards the source side, and we had identified the reflection coefficient K as equal to ZR minus R naught divided by ZR plus R naught. Of course, it is R naught when you use the high frequency approximation. Otherwise, it is just Z naught. Now we will, and of course, the expression that we considered there when we plotted the amplitude of the voltage and the current waveform on the transmission line was something, or rather exactly this. This was the voltage, expression for the voltage on the transmission line. So this was the expression for the voltage, and what we did is we dropped this because it's just going to be an amplitude and probably a phase, and that phase is commonly applicable to both and it can be absorbed into this. So we dropped it because this is the one which is going to help us understand how the voltage and the current waveforms amplitude is distributed over the transmission line. Now this basically had an incident voltage waveform. An incident voltage waveform is one which is propagating towards the load, and this was the one which was propagating away from the load towards the source. Now we've just discussed this in some more detail to understand what exactly we mean when we plotted the amplitude of the voltage and the current waveforms towards the end of the previous lecture video. So recall that this is a forward propagating voltage waveform, and this is a voltage waveform which is propagating in the opposite direction, and this is the reflection coefficient magnitude. Its phase is accounted for here. So now what we do is, of course, the complex exponential phasor notation is in fact it is used for our convenience, notational convenience, but actually on the transmission line you will be having real cosine or sinusoidal waveforms. That is how it is in real life. So I will now model it in some more detail, because the previous discussion we modeled the things in terms of the phasors. So I'll just write the complete expressions now. So maybe I don't need this. I will start from here. Cos omega t plus beta s. This will be the wave, the voltage waveform. Of course, we have dropped all the terms such as ER by 2ZR and all those things, because basically it is these cosine or sines, whatever that we are going to come across, which determines the distribution or the shape of the voltage and the current waveform amplitude. So we are not considering all those things which will distract us from the main point. So cos omega t plus beta s, this is representing a wave which is propagating towards the load, and remember that our source is at a z value which is more than the one where you have the load. So load is at s equal to 0, source is at s equal to L, where L is a positive number. So cos omega t plus beta s propagates towards the load, plus magnitude of reflection coefficient cos omega t minus beta s plus phi. So here, this phi is the phase component of the reflection coefficient. Remember, reflection coefficient is this. So the phase part is appearing here because that will get added to the phase of the waveform. And you see the numerical sign here. And this is now the reflected wave which propagates or travels towards the source, the generator from the load. So this is what it is that we may actually encounter on the transmission line. For notational convenience, we use the phasor notation which we used earlier. Now we can manipulate this expression quite simply. So I'll just write the steps here which must be obvious. So I'm going to first expand this using cos A plus B. So we get cos omega t cos beta s minus sin omega t sin beta s. That is just cos A plus B, expansion of this. And then we have plus magnitude of the reflection coefficient. And similarly, I will expand this using cos A plus B, or rather to be more specific. Maybe we write like this. Right, so we don't alter anything. I'm just putting these things together in the bracket and just changing the numerical sign here. Now I will expand this using cos A minus B, where my A is omega t and B is beta s minus phi. So using cos A minus B, I can expand this as cos omega t cos beta s minus phi. And since it is cos A minus B, I will get plus magnitude of k sin omega t sin beta s minus phi. So let me just check it once. This is cos A plus B. I get it like this, and this k is appearing throughout. I expand this. Cos A minus B is cos A cos B plus sin A sin B. Now we can see that we can group these two terms in the sense cos omega t is a common factor here, and similarly we can group these two terms and sin omega t becomes a common factor here when you group them. Or rather, I will take cos omega t as a common factor from this, and I will end up getting cos beta s minus, or rather this one, right? So plus k cos beta s minus phi. From these two, I take cos omega t as a common factor, and then plus k magnitude k sin beta s minus phi minus sin beta s sin omega t. So here the first term here is, as I said, cos omega t is taken as a common term, and we are ending up with cos beta s plus magnitude k cos beta s minus phi as the term which appears within brackets with cos omega t. And later from these two we take sin omega t as a common factor, and we end up getting k sin beta s minus phi minus sin beta s sin omega t. Now, having obtained this, we can use this identity, which I am sure you are familiar with. This is equal to a square plus b square under root cos omega t plus tan inverse b by a. So just to give you an idea how this happens, I'm sure you know this. A is say r cos theta, b is r sin theta, and you end up getting this. Okay, I think this must be minus. Anyhow, we'll see. You can verify this. So basically, this is the relation that we are going to use. And now, with the help of this, we can write this in the form of an amplitude cos omega t minus some phase term. So when we do that, you can compare these two relations that I have here. A, the role of A is played by this, and the role of B is played by this, which means that, so this part I will remove, I need some space, which means that square of this plus square of this will come under root. So we can do it. It's a simple thing. So we'll do it. Cos square beta s will be there when you square this. Sin square beta s will be there when you square this. So cos square beta s plus sin square beta s will give us a 1. So under root 1. So I'm avoiding writing the whole thing, square of this plus square of this, and then simplifying it. So cos square plus sin square gives 1, and then square of this and square of this will be there, right? So square of this plus square of this will be magnitude k square, and then you will have 2 into this minus, or rather plus, because minus 2 into this and 2 into this. So that part I will write here, 2 cos beta s k cos beta s minus 5. So maybe I can write like this. It will be easier to identify the terms which we have to manipulate later. Right, so, and then 2 times this into this with a negative sign, because you are squaring this. And you will get minus 2 magnitude k sin beta s sin beta s minus 5. And what we have done is, just to recall, we are squaring this, adding it with the square of this to get this, and then put it under square root to get the amplitude part. So cos square plus sin square, when I square this and square this, I'm going to get square of this, 2 into this, square of this, 2 into this, of course with a negative sign. So square of this and square of this adding up to 1, square of this adding up to magnitude k square, 2k cos beta s minus 5 is here, minus 2k sin beta s minus 5 is here. And this again, if you see, it is nothing but, so I'll write here itself, 2k if you take out, you see cos beta s minus 5, minus sin beta s minus 5, that is cos a cos b minus sin a sin b, which is cos 2 beta s minus 5. So it is just cos a plus b. Okay, so this is what this turns out to be. And hence this is going to appear over here, plus 2k cos 2 beta s minus 5. So that is this. Now this will have with it, I have to complete this, cos omega t minus, the remaining part I will write here, tan inverse b by a. So recall that our b is this and our a is this. So b by a, when I write b by a, tan inverse b by a, I get k sin beta s minus 5 minus sin beta s divided by k cos beta s minus 5 plus cos beta s. You can check that again. This is playing the role of b, this is playing the role of a, so tan inverse b by a. Of course, an inconsequential shifting of the terms here has happened, it doesn't matter. So this is what our voltage waveform will actually look like on the transmission line. You can compare this with the result which we obtained towards the end of the previous lecture video. There we were concerned only with this and the phase part. You can compare the two and see that they are the same. So it is this that we actually plotted, the magnitude of this, that is, this is what we actually plotted in the previous lecture video towards the end for various values of k. So if I recall, I think we had k is equal to 1 there, I think so, I'm not sure, and then we had k is equal to 0 and maybe k is equal to 2 or something like that. Anyhow, that's k is equal to 1 by 2 or maybe something like that. Anyhow, so we had plotted it for various values of k. Now what we do is, we will try to understand this. In fact, it is difficult to show this whole thing with as a function of time as well as s, how this looks, how the waveform looks on the transmission line. It is difficult to show that here. So there is some simulation which I have with me, wherein I simulated a forward propagating wave, and to that I added a wave which was propagating in the opposite direction. And I have plotted it for two different values of k, and I will show it now in this video itself. The simulation video that is about to appear was recorded earlier, and my explanation appears in that video. I apologize because the volume is slightly less in that, I presume, compared to the volume with which you are listening to the lecture now. So here is the simulation result for two different values of k. I have plotted for k is equal to 1, no phase k is equal to 1, and for k is equal to 1 by 2. Remember, k is equal to 1 means that it is either an open circuit or a short circuit, because we know that kr is zr minus r0 by zr plus r0. Zr is infinite, means that is an open circuit, k becomes 1. If zr is 0, a short circuit, k becomes minus 1. Of course, magnitude of k becomes 1, and phase is minus pi. So that is for the value of k is equal to 1. In fact, I have plotted for k is equal to 1 with phase as 0, which means that I have plotted for an open circuit, ZR is infinity, and also I have plotted for K is equal to 1 by 2, which can happen if ZR is 3 or not. That gives 2 by 4, which is 1 by 2. So here comes the simulation videos, wherein I have plotted both the amplitude as well as the waveform as a whole, and I have made an attempt to explain what exactly is this amplitude and what is it that we plotted in the towards the end of the previous lecture video. This is a simulation of the voltage waveform on a transmission line for k is equal to 1. So when k is equal to 1, as you know by this time, it is a case of 100% reflection from the load side, which means that the load is open circuited. And you can see that the voltage waveform, the blue waveform here, that is the actual voltage waveform, how it actually looks, the voltage waveform on the transmission line. You can see that it neither moves towards the source is at s equal to 0, and neither does it move towards the load or I'm sorry, towards the generator, which is on the right. So this wave is just there, stationary, but it is just fluctuating with respect to time without moving either towards the load or towards the source. And this is what we mean by a perfect standing wave. And earlier, towards the end of the video, the previous lecture video, we had plotted the amplitude and here plotted the amplitude of the voltage waveform for k is equal to 1, and this the green profile which you see here, this is what we plotted, the one which I'm tracing now with my mouse, that is the green amplitude profile which we plotted there. And you can see that if you say, for example, concentrate on 1700 or just below 1700, please trace my mouse, you can see that the waveform amplitude is reaching its positive peak, and then it starts to drop. It has touched 0, it goes to the negative side, and then it reaches negative peak, negative value, and then it again fluctuates, goes to 0, and the cycle continues. So you can see that for the horizontal grid 1700, if you trace at this point, the voltage waveform, though stationary, fluctuates with respect to time and goes through its almost entire range of amplitude, and that is what is shown by this amplitude plot which we plotted earlier. Whereas if you look at 900, S is equal to 900, and if you concentrate on this vertical grid line, you see that the voltage amplitude remains 0 throughout. You can see that it is just at the point where I have kept my mouse now. It is neither, it's not fluctuating there, and that is 0. So that is why the amplitude profile which we plotted earlier looks like this. So it's also 0 here. You can now just go for 1000, s is equal to 1000, the vertical grid line at 1000, and you can see that it fluctuates, the voltage fluctuates, crosses 0, reaches its positive peak, and then drops. Trace the mouse, it drops, again goes to its negative value, reaches its negative peak, and then again rises. But you see that it doesn't go through this the entire range which it went through here. So here it is not going through that entire range, and hence the amplitude plot looks like this. So that is what we actually mean by this amplitude plot. Obviously we cannot draw the entire time waveform because it's a function of time as well as space. So only the amplitude we could plot in the previous discussion towards the end of the previous lecture video. So having seen the voltage waveform, the standing waves for k is equal to 1, we now take a look at a case where k is equal to 0.5, and you can see that the blue waveform, voltage waveform over here, which I am now tracing with my mouse, is having a net movement towards the left. Take a close look, you can see that it has a net movement towards the left where there is the load. At s equal to 0 we have the load, and this is the generator side. You can see that there is a net movement towards the load. However, you can also see that there is a variation in the amplitude. Now the green graph which you see here, the green profile which you see here, is the one which we plotted earlier at the end of towards the end of the last video lecture, and this is the amplitude profile. So what exactly we mean by that? Let us take a look. So you can see that if you concentrate on this vertical grid line at 1700, you can see that the green amplitude plot has almost the maximum amplitude here, and we will let us trace the amplitude of the blue voltage waveform along this line. So now it has reached its negative peak and it is increasing. It's increasing, and somewhere here it has crossed 0, and then it has reached its positive peak, and then again it drops, and the cycle continues. But you can see that it goes through a, almost the entire range of values, which you can see on the left vertical axis over here. You can see it goes through the entire range of values. Whereas if you concentrate at 900, at the vertical grid line 900, you see that the green amplitude profile has its minimum value, and if we trace the waveform, the voltage waveform amplitude along this line, you see that it has reduced, taken its negative value. Now it is increasing, and it is crossing 0. Trace the mouse, and then it reaches its maximum, then it again starts to drop. So you can see that while here it goes through this full range, the amplitude goes through this full range of values, almost the full range of values. At 900 it doesn't go through it. The range of values which it goes through is much smaller, much lesser range, and that is what the information that we observe by plotting this. This is what we plotted. So this is the connection between this plot and the actual waveform. So if you want, you can see somewhere here, for example, it goes through a range of values. The amplitude goes through a range of values which is between this and this. So that is what we mean by this, and that is what we can learn from this simulation. Okay, so we are back now after that simulation video, and I presume that you have now a fairly good idea what is it that we actually plotted towards the end of the previous video, and what is the actual waveform. We plotted the amplitude, whereas the waveform, it's the amplitude of the waveform that we plotted over there. Now we will just probe a bit deeper, and we discuss a very important term which is called as the standing wave ratio. Now the amplitude, by this time you must be familiar because you have seen the simulation video. The amplitude that we were having was this, to beta s, that is. We were having this, and this amplitude we had plotted. We saw that the amplitude is varying as a function of s, obviously. That is what this expression also tells. What we observe is that the this is the voltage amplitude. The maximum voltage amplitude occurs, because this is a function of S, the maximum voltage amplitude occurs when 2 beta S minus phi is equal to a value such that cos of that is equal to 1. Because cos of that, if this term can be 1 or minus 1. If this term, of course, a range of values in between, but if it is 1, what happens is you will end up getting this as 1 plus magnitude k square plus 2 into magnitude k. This is 1. Under root of that will give you 1 plus k. Whereas if this is minus 1, if 2 beta is minus phi such that this is minus 1, then you will get 1 plus k square minus 2k, magnitude k of course, under root, which will give you 1 minus magnitude k. And when this is 1, you get 1 plus magnitude k, and when this is minus 1, you will get 1 minus magnitude k. So the Emax, the maximum value of this amplitude, is when 2 beta s minus phi is such that this becomes 1, and that is very well known to be 2 pi into an integer. When this is equal to 2 pi into an integer, for example, it could be 2 pi or it could be 4 pi. When it is 2 pi into integer, this becomes 1, and consequently Emax becomes square root of 1 plus magnitude k square plus 2 into magnitude k, that is 1 plus k the whole square. Since it is coming under the square root, we get the result like this. And that happens when 2 beta s is equal to this. And E min, the minimum amplitude, is when 2 beta s minus phi is such that cos 2 beta s minus phi becomes 0. And that is when this is 2 pi into, or rather 2 into an integer plus 1 into pi. So when 2 beta s minus phi is 2 into an integer plus 1 into 5, say for example 3 pi, when integer is 1 you get it as 3 pi, if integer, if you take it as 0 you get pi. So when 2 beta s minus phi is equal to 2 times integer plus 1 into pi, this becomes minus 1, and this becomes 1 plus magnitude k square minus 2k, 2 magnitude k under root, that gives us 1 minus magnitude k. So maximum amplitude of the voltage waveform on a transmission line is this, and the minimum amplitude is this. Now the standing wave ratio S, the standing wave ratio S is defined as, the standing wave ratio S is defined as equal to magnitude Emax by magnitude Emin, and that gives us 1 plus magnitude k divided by 1 minus magnitude k. This is what we mean by the standing wave ratio. It is magnitude Emax by magnitude Emin, the maximum amplitude of voltage waveform, divided by the minimum amplitude of the voltage waveform. Now we can rearrange this easily. S minus S into magnitude k is equal to 1 plus magnitude k, which can be expressed for k. Here we have it for S, so we can write it as k equal to, so you can simplify it, so you can take it over here, bring it over here, and all those things. S minus 1 by S plus 1, that is k is equal to, S by definition is Emax magnitude by Emin magnitude. It is by definition Emax magnitude by Emin magnitude. it becomes Emax minus Emin, because this becomes Emax by Emin divided by, of course, the rest of it, Emax plus Emin. Now we see that some specific cases of interest, or maybe some representative cases, I may say, one, if ZR is equal to R naught, if ZR is equal to R naught, we know that K is 0 because K is ZR minus R naught by ZR plus R naught. Once ZR is R naught, the reflection coefficient becomes 0, and we have seen the magnitude remains the same. We have plotted it towards the end of the previous video. Sorry, we are using it this way, S equal to 0. This is the load side. So we have plotted it towards the end of the previous video, as well as we have seen the simulation a short while ago. Of course, in the simulation I didn't consider this, but you know what we mean by the magnitude there. So when K is 0, the magnitude of the waveform remains the same, which means that Emax is equal to Emin. There is no maximum min, there is only one value. So Emax becomes equal to Emin, which means that the standing wave ratio has to be 1. So whenever the load impedance is equal to the characteristic impedance of the line, the standing wave ratio is 1. There is no reflection. And you can see that it is 1 from the expression also. The expression is here. K becomes 0. There is no reflection coefficient, S becomes 1. And S becomes 1 because Emax is equal to Emin. That is one case. The second case we consider, if ZR is infinity. If ZR is infinity, it is an open circuit, and we have seen the waveform. In fact, we have seen the simulation also in the previous video. In the sense, a short while ago, I have played the simulation video. I had inserted it in this lecture, and you have seen there that when ZR is infinity, when we have plotted this earlier, the magnitude is like this. Magnitude is like this. So it has a maximum value and a minimum value which is 0. So Emax is this and Emin is 0. That 0 was seen very clearly in the simulation video which was shown a short while ago. So Emin being 0 and Emax having a finite value, S becomes infinity. And you can see that from the expression for S, because expression for S is 1 plus magnitude K divided by 1 minus magnitude K. When ZR is infinity, from the expression for K, we know that when ZR is infinity, the value of K becomes 1. 100% reflection. When value of K is 1, 1 minus 1, you get 0, and S becomes infinity. The reason why it becomes infinity is this, the amplitude is like this. And case 3, ZR is equal to 0. Again, ZR is equal to 0 means S is infinity. And we had plotted this, if I remember, in the previous video. The voltage will be like this. The voltage will be 0 at the load side because it is short circuited. Here it is open circuit, so voltage is maximum at the load side. And you can see that the minimum value is 0. More or less the same case except for this phase difference. The minimum value is 0, which means that S is equal to infinity because it is Emax by Emin. Emin is 0. And even if you look at the expression which was derived a short while ago, it is 1 plus magnitude K divided by 1 minus magnitude K. Magnitude K becomes 1 when ZR is 0, and hence this becomes infinity. So these are the special cases that we consider. Now, there is one more case of interest. Let us say ZR is purely resistive. Purely resistive. ZR is purely resistive. That means ZR is just RR. It is a resistive load. There is no inductive or capacitive part for the load. It's purely resistive. When this happens, the standing wave ratio will be 1 plus magnitude k divided by 1 minus magnitude k, which we saw a short while ago. This becomes 1 plus R minus R naught divided by R plus R naught magnitude, because K is ZR minus R naught by ZR plus R naught. ZR is RR, purely resistive, magnitude is this, divided by 1 minus the same thing, RR minus R naught divided by RR plus R naught. Now there are two possibilities. The first one is RR is greater than R naught. When RR is greater than R naught, this quantity, the quantity over here, will be a positive quantity. This will also be a positive quantity. So S becomes 1 plus the magnitude. Since we are discussing the we need not specifically write it down because this is a positive number now. So you will get 1 plus RR minus R naught divided by RR plus R naught divided by the whole divided by 1 minus RR minus R naught divided by RR plus R naught. That is equal to, this is RR plus R naught you bring here, and R naught gets cancelled. You will get 2RR divided by, so over here what happens is RR plus R naught minus RR minus R naught. So this minus makes this as plus, and you will get 2R naught. That is equal to RR by R naught. So standing wave ratio is equal to RR by R naught when the load impedance is purely resistive and it is greater than or equal to R naught. It is a point to be noted here. Now what happens in the same case, that is the load impedance is purely resistive, but it is the other way now, in the sense RR is less than R naught. When RR is less than R naught, what happens is this becomes a negative number. What you have within the absolute, absolute sign, the absolute value of which you are calculating becomes a negative number because RR is less than R naught. So when you take the absolute value, it becomes 1 plus R naught minus RR by RR plus R naught divided by, because RR is less than R naught, this is a negative number. So when you take the magnitude, you take the positive of that number, which is the same as R naught minus RR, divided by 1 minus R naught minus RR by RR plus R naught, which by using that same the argument, RR plus R naught comes here, RR plus R naught comes here, in the denominator they get cancelled, the same denominator in the numerator and denominator here, and you will end up getting now 2R naught by 2RR, that is R naught by RR. So standing wave ratio becomes R naught by RR when the load is purely resistive and the load is less than the characteristic impedance of the line. So with this background, with this much of discussion, we will end this video with a simple problem, a very simple numerical problem. I will work out more numerical problems later after discussing some more theory. So for the time being, we'll just take a very simple problem. There is a transmission line. There is a transmission line which has Z0 equal to 50 plus J 0.01 ohms. So this is the characteristic impedance of the transmission line, 50 plus J 0.01 ohms. So it is not purely resistive. It has a small inductive component. Of course, negligible compared to the resistive component, but still it is there. And the ZR, the load impedance, is 73 minus J 42.5 ohms. So the load impedance is also not purely resistive. In fact, it has a conductive part, 73 minus J 42.5 ohms. In fact, it is a capacitive part. Capacitive, reactance is there. Whereas here it is inductive. This is capacitive. We have to find out, this is a very simple problem. We have to find out the reflection coefficient, and we have to find out the standing wave ratio. So the formula we have been discussed already. So I'll start with the reflection coefficient. The reflection coefficient K is given by ZR minus Z0 divided by ZR plus Z0. ZR is given, Z0 is given. We add the two, rather subtract the two. ZR minus Z0 will give, this is ZR, this is Z0. So ZR minus Z0 gives 23 minus J 42.51. Please verify whether what I am doing is correct. You can work it out. So ZR minus Z0 gives 73 minus 50 and minus J 42.5 minus J 0.01 divided by ZR plus Z0, isn't it? So ZR plus Z0. 73 plus 50, 123. This plus this. So minus J 42.49, I suppose, because minus J 42.5 minus J, or rather plus, I'm adding, this time I'm adding, isn't it? Minus J 42.5 plus J 0.01. So we get minus 42.49. And this you can calculate. The result is 0.37 with a phase term of minus 42.5 degrees. Please verify the answer, or you get something very close to this, subject to the rounding of error. So this is the reflection coefficient. Now S, the standing wave ratio, that is the next part of the question. We have to find the standing wave ratio. We know the standing wave ratio is 1 plus magnitude K. It was discussed just now, divided by 1 minus magnitude K. K we have already found out. So it will be magnitude of K is 0.37. So 1.37 divided by magnitude of K is 0.37. 1 minus 0.37 will be 0.63. That gives 2.174 or something very close to this. So that is the standing wave ratio, and this is the reflection coefficient. Please verify the answers once, whether I have done it correctly, the final numbers. So that completes this example, and we will continue discussion further in the next video.